case in 1996 with the Salem Hells Angels. I was sentenced to 35 years in prison. I did 27 years, and I just got out in August. So that's an atypical thing. But you know, the brunt of my problem started with drugs. When I stopped using drugs, I started selling drugs. I thought I was a genius. Before I went to prison, I was the smartest guy in the whole planet. Nobody was smarter than me. But what I did when I got to prison is I started to learn. And when I learned, I realized how ignorant I really was. So the process for me of learning was probably the greatest process I ever endeavored in my whole life, is to become teachable. That was the thing for me, to be teachable. That was the best first step I ever made. Because anytime anybody ever said something to me, and I don't know if you can see this in yourself, because I can't give you advice. All I could do is tell you my life story, because my best advice got me in prison. But I always used to say, if somebody said something to me, I'd be like, no. I knew everything, you know? Now what I do is I take a step back and I listen. Because anybody can teach you anything if you're receptive and you're open to learning and to listening. What I preach now is building relationships. It's the single best thing I started doing in my life, because I was living an antisocial lifestyle. And all of these have underpinnings of addiction. All these things that I'm talking about. Living an antisocial lifestyle. Now, when I say antisocial, I don't mean you can't talk with your friends, right? But like anti-establishment attitude, anti-everything attitude, anti-people, anti-whatever you want to say, just because I used to think I was the center of the universe. I was the toughest guy in the whole world. I was the bad. Listen, I showed everybody on the planet that I was the baddest guy in the whole world. I went to prison for murder, right? And I figured that cemented showing you I was the toughest guy in the world. But you know what? I never proved it to myself. I always felt like, you know, that for the most of my life, my family gave me, like, you know, love, unconditional love. And that's why I started with my mother's name, because my philosophy every day moving forward is I want to do something that my mother in death, looking down at me, I can make her proud once a day. If I could do that, it's a great day. Now, I don't know the type of relationship. Some people have different types of relationships with their parents. And not all relationships are universal, you know? And my relationship with my mother was great. But what I did with my relationship with my family is, you know, I've always prided myself on being the solidest guy on the planet, you know? And I still am, but I have to look at the way that I treated my family, and I leveraged my loyalty with other people at the expense of them. I wasn't loyal to my mother and father, the people that raised me, that gave stuff to me freely, you know. Listen, I went to Mount Pleasant. I don't know if anybody knows, I'm showing my age here, but it was a hospital in Lynn for addiction. That was the first place I ever went to get clean, in Mount Pleasant. But who was there for me? My mother, my father, my family, right? People that were there all the time, that loved me unconditionally. But I leveraged that loyalty and gave it to other people. Now, it's important to be loyal to me. That's, since I've been released from prison, I've gotten support from people I don't even know. You know, because my reputation is that I'm a solid guy. You don't have to be, you know, not cooperate in a criminal investigation to be solid, right? Saying if you tell me something in confidence, and I don't tell nobody, and you build up this track record with me that I could be trusted, you can confide in me in anything. It's about being a good friend, right? It's about being the friend would like to have, right? So for me, that's how I have lived my life moving forward. So I went to prison, and I was in the most restrictive environment. And that's why I like speaking with people that are in recovery, right? Because you know, like when we don't do drugs for a day, it's a success. I'll get high. It's a success. But I don't know of any success stories like, you know, that, you know, blow up. Just it's personal success, right? We grind. Anybody in recovery, it's a grind because you have to fight your feelings every day. Even if you put some days together in recovery, it's like every day, like, man, it seems like a good idea, you know. And then it's like, nah, I can't, you know. But it's a grind every single day, and that's how my life was in prison, because. So, I did the calculation of my time. So I did 9,484 days in prison. Okay, and I lost every single day. Appeals, trying to file something. I never got anything granted. You know, but what I did in these restrictive environments is I had victories for me within myself. I got up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning. I trained while everybody was sleeping. I ate good. I went to prison when I was 28 years old. I'm 55 years old now. Every single day, but I lost. I didn't win. I didn't get out of prison. Everybody, you know, this guy got out, that guy got out. No, I grinded every day. And then when I see people getting out of prison, of course I'm happy. I don't need you there, you know. But I always thought to myself, when's my turn gonna be? When am I gonna get out? You know, I went to jail in 1996. I got out in 2023. We're in 2024 now, right? So 2023 in August. So it's a very long, arduous process, is to fight yourself every day, lose, have some moral victories every day. Just see, I always tell people that if you're a chalk better, and a chalk better is you bet the favorites, my story's not for you, because I lost every day. I'm an underdog. There's many people I know that never survived coming out of prison for 10 years, for 20 years. You know, I've been in collaboration with a guy in New York on Instagram, and I just posted a picture today and looking at the picture, 3 of those people are dead. 2 of them got murdered in prison. So I have to consider myself fortunate and blessed every single day for grinding that out. But my point to you is why I'm telling you to grind it out, because recovery is the same exact way. There's, you know, we talk about the pink cloud in these halls, you know, and you feel good, but reality hits you after a while. And, you know, then you start to say, you're like, I live my life the whole, this is it, every single day like this, you know. So those are personal victories. But I think, and I know for myself that nothing can work without me starting my day every day. Some people started on their knees, but just knowing and realizing that today, and what I say to myself all the time is, I got enough fucking problems in my life. I have way more than enough problems than I want to incorporate another one, and the biggest one that will be the fall of everything. You know, so I always think I have problems until real problems come, you know. So my menial day-to-day is livable as long as I stay off drugs and alcohol, not get in trouble with the law anymore. I don't want to get in trouble with the law, you know. I'm completely on the opposite side of that now, you know. I'm into living a pro-social life. I'm into building relationships with people, because when you build relationships with people, you build wealth, and it's not just financial wealth. It's wealth of spirit, wealth of everything, you know? And it's not too much to invest to build relationships with people, to be pro-social. You know, something happens down the road, I mean, you didn't invest much, you know what I'm saying? So you can, I mean, listen, one thing about the people in this room I know is everybody's a pretty good judge of character. We already know we're driving head on into a wall when we're doing it. Sometimes we just say, fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway. Me anyway, that's what I do. But I already know the result of a relationship when I begin it. And, you know, some that I don't know in business relationships with people that, you know, the investment is minimal. And the payoff could be huge. Listen, I've been blessed with so many phenomenal people in my life that I'm probably I consider myself the most fortunate person in the whole world, because all I did was go to prison for a long time. And because I did that in the circumstances of my case, I have a lot of people that support me, follow me, help me, so, and sometimes, and this is why I like to speak in these places too, I feel like I'm from the bottom of the barrel. There's nothing outstanding about it. I didn't do anything great. I did things that society would consider, less than stellar, sold drugs, assaulted people, went to prison. And when I first started in prison, I did everything but take hostages. I started with group demonstrations, assaults on staff. I mean, everything you can think of, and at some point in my life, what I said to myself was that, we always talk about repeating the same things and expecting different results. You keep running into the wall, banging your head. I mean, it's phrases we use in AA and NA forever. So, but I think what the most important thing for me is I began educating myself. Education for me gave me self-worth. So a lot of the things that I did in my life, and I don't know if anybody in this room can identify with that, was based on insecurity. I was insecure about a lot of things, and, we can always give out this who we are, like, hey, yo, what's up? You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, part of that for me was based on insecurity, So, I mean, I grew up in East Boston. It was kind of a rough and tumble neighborhood. And, and my neighborhood, everybody had to prove who was the toughest guy, So maybe if I grew up somewhere else, it would have been a little different, But when I started to find the value of education and educating myself in whatever area I could, that started to give me self-worth. And I think with addiction, a lot of times we lose our self-worth. For me, I lost it, and I lost it for a lot of different reasons at many different points in my life, but when I began to have the capacity, and when I knew I could learn, because I was scared. I didn't know I could do math. You know what I mean? I was scared of like curriculums. I was like, I just wanted to make the most amount of money with the least amount of work. And I thought that gave me status, But, I mean, the material things are great, but it's just, there's no future in it. I mean, let's be honest, And when I started to engage in college courses and started to learn and have people to support me, and I started doing good. Remember, I got my first A in trigonometry. I was in my cell by myself. And it was probably the most emotional time I ever had in my life, because tears came to my eyes. I'm like, wow, I could do this. That's crazy, And that was the springboard for learning my crowning achievement in life is I taught myself Spanish, and I speak it fluently. You know what I mean? But that's only because I realized I had the capacity to learn. Going to prison was a big thing, and banging my head against the wall over and over and over and over again, and talking to my mother. And this is why I mention my mother all the time. She was like, John, like, why do you have to do all this stuff? Like, why can't somebody else do this? So even when I was in prison, my mother lived, I think I was 23 and a half years in prison, and she passed away. So it's hard, that's very uncomfortable feelings to live with, and I always say that, my philosophy moving forward now is if I could do one thing today that will make my mother proud of me, then that's a successful day. And I know that not using drugs and not using alcohol, I mean, it sounds cliche around, these places, but I would never be where I am today. And listen, all I do is grind every day. I work, I pay taxes. I just got out of jail in August, but I have a job. I have a clothing line that I established that's called 27 Straight, 27 STR8 for the 27 straight years that I was in prison. And, you know, the crazy thing is, there's a demand for it. So that's like a really good thing for me. And it's something that I built on my own. So, I mean, it took me, Jesus Christ, it took me like 35 years to really realize that I could excel at other things other than getting in trouble. You know what I mean? So, if you're sitting here today and, you know, you just feel like you just keep running into a brick wall and, you know, listen, I told you, I lost thousands of days on end. And then one day I won and it clicked. And, you know, through a lot of hard work and through, you know, a lot of turmoil and a lot of despair and a lot of self-reflection. And halfway through my bid that I was doing all these things, I was getting up early, I was working out, I was eating good. I said to myself, why am I doing this? You know, it's never gonna end. And I know that I felt like that with like recovery and addiction as well. This stuff ain't never gonna end. It's never gonna end. I'm never gonna be done with the sentence. I'm never getting out of jail. Why am I doing this? You know, but I just grinded it out. And what I thought was, and maybe you can identify with this, you have a little time of recovery, right? And you're like, I don't want to blow this. You know, I already got like this, whatever, put together. I put so many steps in front of, that's what I said to myself. I said, listen, I got 10 years of doing this. How can I not do this now? I just got to keep moving forward in doing this, you know? And I just grinded it out. Listen, doing jail time for me is just like being in recovery. It's the same exact thing. It's just a grind every day. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But I just think that for me, it was those battles that I won, that I proved to myself, and nobody else, but I proved to myself that I could, all right, listen, I could take that step, I could do that, I could do this, you know, I could tell somebody, hey, can you teach me this? Because like I said, it was hard for me to learn anything because I was the smartest guy in the room, you know? So just to remain teachable, have the capacity to learn, to get self-fulfillment from learning, and building relationships are like the four cornerstones of why I'm even living today, you know, and why I like to share my story, because I think it has value, and I think that, you know, people can learn something from my experiences. I'm not a teacher. I'm not qualified to give psychological advice. All I could do is just share my story with you and hope that you find value in it. And there's something that I said maybe today, you know, that helps you, listen, just stay clean for one day. Achieve a lifelong goal, who knows, you know? But I just think that for me, it's important for my mother to look down and to say, I'm proud of you. Because the worst thing my mother could ever do is look at me and say, you know what? I'm disappointed in you. She couldn't be mad, she wouldn't, you know what? I'm disappointed in you. When she said she was disappointed in me, it was like somebody slit my throat. That was the worst thing I could hear from my mother. You know? And today I like to think she's not disappointed. And thank you for letting me share. And if you want to ask some questions, I'll take them.
Thank you. That was awesome.